I am back! Several things in life have kept me busy, so I wasn't able to dedicate any time to making videos. However, I have missed being able to do them and will try to be more active on the YouTube side. With my return, I would like to start a new series which I call the Hidden Gem series, final name pending. A series that is dedicated to finding lesser known games and giving them the attention they deserve, whether it be positive or negative. Starting off with a side-scroller beat-em-up named Full Metal Furies. I believe most of us are familiar with the beat-em-up genre. It became very popular back in the old arcade days with titles such as Streets of Rage and Final Fight. The objective is to defeat all AI enemies on screen and move forward up until you reach the stage boss. You repeat this several times until either you have completed the game or mom stops giving you the coins for retries. Beat-em-ups are addictive and very fun, especially if they allow for your friends to join you during them. However, they have several core issues that make it difficult for developers to use them these days. First off, its repetitive nature of just punching people and then moving forward for several hours doesn't really allow for a very long and interesting game. It's the type of thing that you play in short bursts and take long breaks from. Secondly, forcing the player to constantly fight limits your ability to tell an interesting story. It's difficult to justify your character killing and destroying a lot of things, while at the same time having a non-comical narrative. Lastly, with the age of console and PC, it's not that easy to make people pay literal money for every time they die. At least this is what I would say if mobile wouldn't exist. With the core issues at hand, higher budget developers prefer to stick to other genres instead. Let's actually get to the game. Full Metal Furies. A game developed and published by Cellar Door Games, the studio which has developed the critically acclaimed Rogue Legacy. Full Metal Furies is, as previously described, a beat-em-up which can either be played solo or with up to 4 players. When played solo, you're dynamically able to switch between the 4 different characters of Team Fury, while when played in multiplayer, the characters get split between the players. All 4 have their own core strengths. Triss was tank with shout and shield. Eren, engineer, was capable of using drones during combat and use science that is not in her field of speciality. Alex, the warrior of the team, who can spin with the hammer and counter enemy attacks. And last but not least, Meg. She has a sniper rifle. The team's goal is to defeat the Titans who plan on taking over the world and have it shaped in their own image. Your good old save the world plot basically. The gameplay consists out of the classic beat 'em up recipe. Move forward, enemies spawn, defeat the enemies and continue moving forward. In between maps, you're able to upgrade your characters using currency you have earned during the fights. The upgrade tree is fairly small and not too interesting as it often contains just direct stat upgrades, but the game likes to throw in new equipment every now and then, which actually changes the ways some of your abilities function and offer variety up until the late game. The gameplay is as enjoyable as beat-em-ups can be. Thanks to the mechanic of being able to switch between 4 different characters at any given time, you end up with very dynamic gameplay. In multiplayer, you're kinda stuck being the same character, but thanks to the fact that everything is fun with friends, you won't end up bored. The differences between the 4 characters are the core of the game and one thing that the developers proudly build it around. As during battles, you'll often have to face enemies with shield bubbles colored after the main cast, forcing you to use the specific character in order to deal damage. Other times, the game will contain puzzle sections that can either only or easily be solved using the right character. I was never a big fan of forcing players into using a specific weapon, you could say, during combat to deal damage. I understand that the developers did this on purpose to prevent you from just using a single character only, but the design choice of giving enemies bubbles that make them invulnerable until you hit them with the right character is just really tedious and gets especially bad during the late game. Speaking of puzzles, this game has probably some of the best puzzles I've seen in a long while. I don't want to spoil anything, but they range from being simple riddles to a point where you're literally looking up a video to find a specific message within the video itself. It felt really nice being treated like an adult who is capable of solving tougher puzzles instead of an infant who needs guidance every 3 seconds. Looking at you, Rockstar. Speaking of nice surprises, the game also has decently well written dialogue. It's the type of casual, not taking itself seriously humor that can be hit or miss with people, but definitely hit it for me. If there's one strong negative that I can say about this game is that the PC controls are just as bad as Cellar Door's previous title, Rogue Legacy. I would recommend using a controller. I really don't understand what's so difficult about programming a mouse onto the menu screen these days. In conclusion, I like this game a lot. It's cheap and yet it offers everything I expect from a beat 'em up and more. The classic combat style of this genre with more variety thanks to being able to select between 4 different characters, amazing puzzles and last but not least, fun dialogue. If you're looking to scratch that beat 'em up itch, then don't miss out on Full Metal Furies.